All right, folks, the question is it smart to withhold federal funds from states? Police officers refuse to wear body cameras. Let's go at it with our panel. And so, Jamira, Laura, Charles, and Chris. Jamira, I want to start with you. President Reagan did this when it came to federal highway funds and changing the drinking age in various states. And so they said, fine, you don't change the laws in your states when it comes to the age you can drink, then you're not going to get federal highway funds. All states changed it because they needed those billions for highways. Do you believe this is a smart bill by Congressman Rush, and do you think Republicans will support it?
Yes to the first part, no to the second. I do believe it's a very good bill. I think it will hold police officers accountable across the country, particularly police districts or departments who are already strapped on funds to actually move forward with getting body cameras. But I caution us not to utilize this as a silver bullet to reduce all police brutality across the country, because we know that over the last few years, with more than 16,000 police districts, is that police violence increased over the last few years, and we have to hold them accountable in other ways. So we have to look at how prosecutors actually prosecute them or take them to court, and we just have to make sure that they are using force as a responsibly without excessive force unnecessarily.
Charles, you're from Chicago. You've seen how much cops lie there. Chicago Tribune did an analysis where judges were admonishing cops and imploring the city to investigate them for even lying on the witness stand. Oh, yeah. I would think if you're a police officer and a body camera will actually show the beginning of a stop, the entire stop, and any aftermath, you would support that. But the cops, they, in a huge number, don't want to wear these body cameras.
That's true. But, you know, Roland, I was a victim of a police officer lying on me about beating up a white man. Didn't touch him, didn't have a scratch. They threw the case out, but it cost me $3,000 when we were working at VON. They thought they could get some money. But, you know, I think that body cams are a great idea. And Congressman Rush, this is the first time in 25 years that he's been in the Congress that he's put forth a bill that I think will help not only our communities and his community, but all of America. These police officers, and more importantly, these prosecutors need to be held accountable.
And Laura, bottom line is this here. I mean, when you look, you know, again, the challenge now is whether or not House Republicans are going to say, great idea, but when you're always trying to get law enforcement endorsements, I'm not thinking they're going to go along with this bill by Congressman Rush.
Yeah, I mean, this is a dead-on-arrival bill. The person who makes the decision on this bill is Bob Goodlatte. The chances of him moving this through committee is zero. This president is campaigned as the law and order president. We're dealing with law enforcement officers. Law enforcement community is not interested in this type of accountability, even though there was general agreement on both Republican and Democratic sides that body cameras was a pretty good remedy. If you remember the Tim Scott bill, Senator Tim Scott's bill to fund body cameras last year was out there. But the police are really the only profession left in America where there is no accountability. We have more accountability on our military. You can't shoot somebody overseas and just not explain it. I mean, police and police unions are not interested in this type of direct accountability.
And Chris, I wonder if Senator Tim Scott will be the Senate sponsor of this bill. He's always talking about body cameras, but the beauty of this bill, as far as I'm concerned, is forcing accountability. It's saying, okay, you don't want to wear the cameras, we're going to take your federal funds. Right. Republicans often talk about that in other areas of using the purse strings of Congress to force states to do certain things. Why not here?
Yeah, I simply don't think, to the point of the law and order piece of this, I think many Republicans are going to see this as really in opposition to that, and I would not look for Senator Scott to be the Senate sponsor on this. I think he likes the idea of body cams. I do, however, think that he is not going to be the person who supports the idea of holding people accountable from a federal level.
He not only likes the idea of body cameras. I mean, after Walter Scott was shot, he and Senator Graham really advocated for body cameras, as did some other Republicans. But the question is, are they going to go up against their own leadership? Are they going to push their own leadership to do this, and I can't imagine that happening.
Not going to happen.
I can't imagine them doing that.
That'll never happen.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the deal, though.
Never
Here's the deal, though.
I think they will.
Okay, but here's the deal, though. All right, where's conservative media? Where are all these people who
Where's Bill
love
O'Reilly?
talking about withholding federal funds?
Exactly.
Right. Where's Bill O'Reilly?
Exactly.
Where's Laura Ingraham? Where's Sean Hannity?
Exactly.
Because again, everybody wants to talk about accountability for black folks in Chicago.
Right.
Everybody wants to talk about how do you lower the violence. But to Laura's point, we never want to deal with accountability of police in this country.
Right.
Well, to be absolutely honest, like, these remedies are not going to, I mean, these remedies are only good when enforcing against black and brown bodies. I would say in many ways also to expect Donald Trump to go against his very base and also a population of individuals who supported him throughout the entire campaign. Police officer unions supported Donald Trump, campaigned for him in many ways, so I think to expect him to go against his base is very unlikely.
And once you're talking about back-end reform, the conversation is over also.
One second, no. But here's the piece, Jamira. I'm not bringing up Donald Trump. I'm talking about House Republicans.
They're not going to go against Donald Trump.
Constantly
They can barely tie their shoes without his permission.
Yes, they will. Yeah,
Not on
they will.
this
No, they're not.
Yeah, they will.
There's no evidence of that. Zero.
So Charles, you think House Republicans will embrace this bill by rush?
They need to. They have to. And if they don't, they're being hypocrites.
He's living in the same
about,
fantasy
when you
land
talk
Donald
about
Trump
law
is.
and order, when you talk about law and order, you know, the American people, we have to put the American people first. If this administration, if this House and this Senate is talking about putting Americans first, then that should be first and on the forefront. You know, we know about police abuse and police accountability, especially coming from Chicago, but any urban city.
House Republicans won't go against his president with regard to Russians interfering with our elections.
Oh, please.
Okay, much less body cameras. It's fantasy.
They're not even holding
it's
Donald Trump
never
accountable
going
to his
happen.
own words and
it's not going to happen.
Well,
the House Republicans have zero cowardice against this president. They've shown no evidence of disagreeing with this president, and they certainly aren't going to show it on a policing issue.
Yeah, well, I don't know I don't know where the votes are going to come from for this. I don't see it, and I think part of the counter argument is going to be that this is but okay. So you tell me about body cams, you tell me about that. They're going to say, well, we don't have a comprehensive way of looking at this, so let's study it. That's pretty much what I think.
But the last few years, haven't we had?
And that's called
DOA.
What's called weak leadership.
Basically.
Well,
That's called weak leadership.
Someone needs to carry the ball.
Real quick, Charles, 20 seconds, real quick.
Yeah, someone needs to carry the ball, whether it's Paul Ryan or McConnell. We talked about body cams and funding body cams. Let's put some federal funding into these body cams and people get back on board with body cams because, you know, Congress was behind it several years ago.
We're talking about reality versus fantasy, and we already know
Well,
that
you know what fantasy
Congress
is.
does not live in reality.
It does.
Well, let me do a reality. I got to pay some bills, so y'all got to be quiet. All right, y'all.
A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. His hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not going to let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally. What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.